Britain has unveiled a new emergency support package to support the COVID-battered economy. The main aim is to protect those jobs. A furlough scheme that helps pay wages of those who cannot work because of the pandemic will be replaced. Now, the announcement comes just days after restrictions were tightened to stem a second virus wave.
Our economy is now likely to undergo a more permanent adjustment. The sources of our economic growth and the kinds of jobs we create will adapt and evolve to the new normal. And our plan needs to adapt and evolve in response. Above all, we need to face up to the trade-offs and hard choices coronavirus presents. And Mr. Speaker, there has been no harder choice than the decision to end the furlough scheme.
Ollie Barrett is live for us in London. Ollie, what are the main measures that have been outlined in this new support package?
Well, Dawn, the replacement to that furlough scheme that Rishi Sunak was talking about there is the so-called job support scheme. This means that the government will effectively top up the pay of workers who've not yet been able to return to full-time work, but may be able to carry out some part-time work for their employers, and the government and their employer therefore taking on the payment of those workers together. It's designed to keep people away from unemployment who may be able to do some part-time work even though their industries have been affected. We're also seeing a sales tax cut for hospitality and tourism. That'll be extended through next year. A loan scheme is being extended. The terms of some people's loans that they've already taken out are being amended to make payments easier for businesses and employers. Income support is being extended for self-employed people as well. This is not as generous a round of support as we saw during the peak of the pandemic, but bear in mind some of the sums that we're already talking about. The furlough scheme, we think, has cost around £40 billion. That's 50 billion US dollars. 57 billion pounds, 70 odd billion US dollars in loans have already been handed out. That number clearly set to increase. So another round of pretty astonishing government support coming from the UK government in terms of what it will mean for public expenditure and therefore what it will mean for the UK's budget deficit as well.
Yeah, big numbers, Ollie. And are these expected to be adequate then in propping up the economy?
Well, the Chancellor himself admits that they will not be enough alone, but he also says the government can't do everything here, and he says that he can't support every business and he can't support every job. There's also a real shift in emphasis here. The Chancellor turning down the opportunity to extend the furlough scheme and replace it with something less generous, but he's also pointing to a real shift in the UK economy now on a permanent basis as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, saying that back in March we thought we were facing a temporary economic disruption, but now talking about a permanent adjustment. That sense from the government that some of the jobs that will be lost and have been lost already are never coming back. Those people will have to find themselves alternative employments, perhaps alternative sectors to work in, perhaps alternative towns and cities, which are also feeling a real effect from the pandemic. But also a shift in tone, I think, from Rishi Sunak compared to what we've been hearing from other government ministers recently. An idea from him that we are going in the UK to have to learn to live with coronavirus rather than try and avoid all of its effects. He said our lives can no longer be put on hold. Life means more than simply existing. And he also said the responsibility for coronavirus cannot be held by government alone. It is a collective responsibility shared by all. And going back to the time length of the job support scheme where we started, that is being put in place from November for 6 months. So another sense from the Chancellor about how long he and the government expect this to last.
Okay, tough times ahead. Thanks very much for that. Ollie Barrett speaking to us from London.